Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of the Rich and Turbo Heavy Half Hour. Today you have myself. My name's Rich. You can find me on X at FuzzDoomRip and all the other socials at rich.piva, doing reviews for Musipedia of Metal, and as a Doom Charts contributor. I have my partner in crime, Turbo, with me with his AC/DC shirt on today. Turbo, what's up?
Hey.
Thank you. Deep thoughts as usual, Turbo. We're gonna get into our interview. And speaking of shirts, I'm wearing a Blue Heron shirt in honor of Jad, who hooked me up to talk with Jerry and Buick from Friendship Commanders today, who have a new record coming out on Magnetic Eye Records. It's called Bear, and we're super stoked to talk to you. How are you guys doing today?
Pretty good. Just running around, moving towards getting this record out and getting on the road.
Love it.
Yeah,
love
lots
it.
of stuff going on.
So, glad to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Buick, and thank you, Jerry. This is awesome. October 10th, the new album comes out. This is album number 4. We've had it for a little while, so we've had a lot of time to spin it and have a lot of questions just about it, and we're really digging it. I think it's going to be huge for you guys. I really, really do.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So tell us what's different. We've been fans, and people who are fans of the band. Tell us what's different with this record compared to the last one, Mass, which came out a couple of years ago and was pretty much a concept record, correct?
Yeah. Jared, do you want to go first?
Oh, no, you wrote the songs.
Well, I mean, song-wise, this is sort of, if it's not a concept record, it at least has a central theme, which is this idea of belonging, and also certainly not belonging, which I've experienced quite a bit of in my life. And so that, I think that it stands out as being a sort of cultural work through a personal lens. Mass was a very, very personal record, and I was surprised that anybody liked it, because here I was talking about Massachusetts stories, and it seemed like a lot of people from all over the place sort of understood what I was getting at there. But this record is a little bit more broad, and musically I would say that it's different because we pushed ourselves as far as we were possibly capable on our instruments, vocally, arrangement, and production-wise. We named this record before we started making it, but it lived up to its name. This project was a bear.
Love how that worked out. How about you, Jerry?
We discussed this previously, but I think this is the most pre-production and practice and arranging we've ever done on anything, just on the musical side, before Buick even got into singing vocals. So yeah, it feels like the songs were taken to their most final possible conclusion before we even got into the studio with them.
Love it. Yeah. And you guys worked with Kurt Ballou again, correct, to produce this record? We had the band Abrams on and talked to them a little bit about Kurt. They had their last record produced by him. And what I love about him is that he kind of can, you listen to a band like Cave In, and they can be heavy, but they can be spacey and atmospheric and bring all of those things. Why do you guys work with Kurt? What does he do that optimizes what Friendship Commanders do on a recording?
Well, first of all, he's like one of the sickest engineers in the game. I'm addicted to the way that Kurt mixes us. So before we even get to the recording, Kurt's mixes, I think, are some of the best available. I love the way he mixes our band. But also, Mass was the first record we ever recorded with him, even though we'd been working with him as a mix engineer for a bunch of years prior. We've been working with him for about 6 years total now. So Mass was the first in-person project, and it was a huge difference. Just the way that everything sounded going down, the way that he captured our sounds. Obviously, he's such a scientist. And also, I think it's very important that he's a fellow heavy musician, as was Steve Albini, one of our collaborators. There's something about working with engineers that are also making work that I think lends a very different type of set of sensibilities. But as a co-producer with us, Kurt's a great third person. He has a different set of ears. He has things that I might get hung up on, or that Jerry feels really strongly about. Kurt will offer another voice, and we'll sort of go back and forth among the three of us. And it's just a valuable set of perspectives and sounds. And he's also a great hang, which is, as anybody who's ever spent a lot of time in the studio knows, it's more valuable than gets discussed. Being around somebody that is a great hang when you're doing like 10, 11-hour days together is important.
Yeah,
Go
I mean,
ahead,
his tones just are awesome, and that is initially what attracted me to him personally. Just, you know, there's a trend of the drums being mixed, like as each track is its own thing. The snare and the tom are all kind of separate and like compressed in their own ways, but it's a whole kit and a roomy sound with him. And also his guitar sounds are different. He never uses the same gear everybody else does, and he's always changing it up. And you know, that I always kind of thought it would be a good fit. And then he turned in the mix for Enemy I Know for us in 2020, and that was pretty much it. Then, you know, that kind of solidified our working relationship with him, and it only got better when we tracked with him, as Buick said.
Yeah, this record has, just to go with the guitar tone, just, it's awesome. The fuzzy kind of, you know, grungy kind of sound that he gets from you guys, just next level on this record. Turbo, I'm 6 minutes in. This is a record for me allowing you to ask a question this early in the interview. So, Turbo, what do you have for Jerry and Buick?
Several things. One, I relatively new to y'all as a band, which surprises me since y'all have been around for about 10 years and you're just 30 minutes away from me. So I just, you know, I don't know how I haven't heard of you before now.
Where are you, Turbo? Sorry to interrupt.
I'm in Murfreesboro.
We're neighbors. Great. Okay.
Buick, are you a T-Rex fan, or were your parents a T-Rex fan?
That's such a great question, and I will say that as a kid growing up, my parents are both musicians and songwriters, and their friends would come to my birthday parties and bring me copies of that record on vinyl. But no, and sadly Mark Bolan did not live long enough to meet a woman named Buick, but I don't think had any influence on my name. My mother's a singer-songwriter, and her name is Jane Catherine, and she was really, really unhappy with that name and wanted me to have, in case I was musical, wanted me to have a big name. So she named me Buick Audra, which is wild. But here we are, and I'm doing my best to live up to it.
Love it.
Right on. One of the first things I wanted to ask, I noticed on the song that opens up the album, Been Keeping Score.
Yeah.
At the end of that song, you let a scream out that's, I guess, very cathartic for you. I wasn't sure if it was your voice or if it was a whistle, but you screamed. I don't know. It was beautiful, but did you set that song up to set the tone of the album, or was that just happen that way?
It was the first song written for the record, so we played that song live for 2 years before we tracked it, or not a full 2 years, but a year and a half maybe before we tracked it. And I consider it the mother of the album, and it wasn't always intended to open the record. Actually, Jad from Magnetic Eye suggested that, and initially we were like, we thought Melt would open the record, and he really felt strongly about Keeping Score, and because I consider it the mother of the record, we went for it. And I do think it's a bold opening. I think it works now. We were initially like unsure, but I'm really happy with it. Thank you for the kind words about that note. It is my voice.
Yeah, I have to like send out a props for how long it is. It's a super long note.
Right.
Turbo, this is a score for you, because generally speaking, Turbo's like 70-30, that when he hears something that he's not sure of, he's usually wrong, so we're getting the percentage better. So
I'm getting
props to Turbo on that one, right?
Thank you.
You mentioned Melt. That's a song I wanted to call out. I feel like this record, and you're wearing a Jesus Lizard shirt, which makes me extremely happy. I feel like this record has this delightfully 90s thing going on in it. And I hear like almost like a heavier Juliana Hatfield kind of vibe out of a song like Melt. I was going to ask you about influences, specifically 90s influences. You're wearing a Jesus Lizard shirt. So what other bands do you consider like maybe you're channeling from Bear, if any?
Thank you. Yeah, the Jesus Lizard gave us these shirts. We played with them last year in Nashville at their
awesome.
Blue Room show. Yeah, it was a huge honor. I grew up listening to the Jesus Lizard, to Shellac, Juliana is an influence, but not as much as Belly.
Love Belly. Let's talk about Belly.
Yeah, Tanya, to me, I just think is one of the great writers of that generation and performers and everything else. But yeah, that huge influence. And so to me, I'm like going that way with Melt. But yeah, and the Breeders also for sure. Love the Deals. But
I wrote for my college newspaper, and I remember doing my top 10 records of the year. This will tell you how old I am. But I wrote Belly's second album, King, I think I had it at like 4 or 5, and I wrote Tanya Donnelly, the Goddess, and I just remember my girlfriend being like, "What?" I'm like, "Settle down. I don't know her. I mean,
easy does it.
Come on, settle down." But if I do meet her, we'll have a discussion about that afterwards. But I love Belly.
Me too.
I actually like King better than the first record, but both of them, and that's generally not the opinion of most, but huge Belly fan.
Me too. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's in there for sure. The Jesus Lizard for sure. I'd say I'm a big, one time a music journalist was like, "Oh, I hear a lot of Kim Thale and Buick's guitar playing," and I was like, "It's all Chris Cornell. It's not Kim. It's Chris's left hand. It's outshined." I'm a big Bad Motorfinger fan. I feel like I say that in almost every interview.
The funniest thing about that band to me is everyone says Kim about the guitar parts, but it's mostly Chris. He wrote all those parts for the most part. Mm-hmm. He wrote most of the hits too, by himself.
Yeah. And he's the sludgy guy, whereas like Kim is more that leady, sort of that piercing tone that's cutting through in those lead lines.
Well, that's very, very cool. That's and I was looking, I just wrote down a bunch of 90s bands, but you definitely have that kind of 90s grunge / almost leaning towards the punkier side of things, even like some of the faster Nirvana songs and things like that I hear in some of your stuff. And usually I'm manifesting based on what I'm thinking, but sounds like it's kind of stuff in your wheelhouse, right?
Yes. There's a song on the record that goes kind of punk. I do have some punk influences. I'm unfortunately the one to blame for the punk. Jerry is much more of a metal person, and we meet in the middle on some stuff on the grunge. But it's less Nirvana for me. There's a song called Imperfect, and when I hear, my influence in that song is Frankie Stubbs from Leatherface. I think Frankie is like such a cool, melodic, frantic, but beautiful, poetic punk writer, and he doesn't get talked about enough. But Frankie is like a huge influence for me. So
that's awesome. I learned late about Leatherface. I actually learned about them. They did a split with a band called Hot Water Music out of Gainesville, and I learned about Leatherface late in the game. But it was definitely worth it. And what's funny is Turbo's the metal guy. I'm the punk guy. We meet in the middle. It's funny the way we do that. And normally when Turbo hears punk, he just kind of sits back and he says, "Oh, Rich is going to go," but we have Jerry here to counteract the punk with the metal side of things. Yep. Jerry, what do you bring from an influence side that you would call out, and what do you love to listen to?
Well, I pretty much only listen to heavy music for the most part, just as far as like what I would call modern music these days. So, huge Melvins fan, and Dale's playing is a thing I've referenced a lot coming into this band, especially in the spirit of hitting as hard as possible. But, I mean, Soundgarden might be my favorite band of all time, so as much as I love metal, the grunge to me was kind of the perfect mixture of songwriting and like pop sensibility and heavy music when it was at its best. And so like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and Pumpkins were huge for me. I think a lot of that's the same for Buick, so that's where we kind of bond and split out from. But I'm a huge Sumac fan. I love Nick's playing, the drummer in that band. I love the Cult Leader records, and that was how I came to know Kurt's work, and just like all the stuff that he works on. I like that brand of underground metal that's technically proficient but noisy and loud and heavy above all, because I really don't enjoy listening to gridded, edited, sound replaced, tuned music, and unfortunately that's what a lot of modern metal is, even on the indie side. So
yeah, it's like the definition of Converge. His band is kind of what you just described there, right? That gritty sound, but nothing fake about it. I also think of a band like Dillinger Escape Plan that he worked with as well. Yeah, just kind of crazy and but organic. Which is kind of what we're all about, and I think why we're drawn to your stuff and to this record. Excellent. Turbo, what else you got for them?
Well, I was going to ask Jerry something, but first, were you all around when Chris did his solo? Did y'all get to see Chris when he did his solo tour? He did a show in Nashville at 328, which, rest in peace. I don't know if y'all know about 328.
I went to my first concert at 328, awesome. But I don't know if you lived here yet.
Oh, so I'm from Miami. I'm a weirdo. I'm not a Nashvilleian, but I've been here for 15 years.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what year that tour was, but it helped me appreciate Chris's. I was already a huge Soundgarden fan, but it helped me appreciate what Chris did more.
What album was it? Euphoria Morning?
It would have had to have been because 328 got destroyed pretty soon after around when that one had come out.
That's like 20 something years. That's an incredible record though. Love that record. And I love his solo stuff like way back in the Soundgarden days, like the Seasons, that he plays on the singles soundtrack. Yeah, incredible piece of music.
I was listening throughout your past albums, just touch and go on some of the things, Jerry. I noticed that your drums on this album, Bear, seem to be a lot sharper, a lot more snappier. I love them because it sounds like you're getting something out of you. You got some energy that you got to expel. So I was wondering, is that something that you purposely tried to get, or did Kurt help you with that as well?
Well, Kurt did help. This and Mass are the only things we've tracked with him. Everything else we've tracked ourselves and sent in to have mixed.
But he has mixed us for 6 years.
Yeah. This was a different drum kit than I've used in the past, and smaller tom sizes, just a different approach. I think I also, just on this side of things, I'm hitting harder than I ever have. So that was kind of the goal with this, to destroy the drums and let the room mics go nuts.
Yeah, mission accomplished on that.
Thank you.
And you played a Q kit for the first time.
Yeah, it was a steel kit.
Interject, yeah.
Yeah, it was a steel Q kit that I got. I think it's one of the last things Jeremy Berman, who started Q Drums, made before he died of stomach cancer. So it's really sad, but yeah.
It has a tonal difference. Yeah.
For sure.
I can't let the fact that you are from Miami go, Buick. I'm only because I lived in South Florida since '98. I just moved to Central Florida recently. Do you bring any Miami influence to Friendship Commanders, or
certainly Miami's a huge part of who I am, and I also grew up with like Miami bass and R&B. And when we were talking about influences, I was going to say that I come from grunge and punk and noise rock, but I also come from R&B. And it certainly factors into everything that I sing, everything that I produce as a vocalist, all of those doubles and octaves that I'm doing on the record. That all came from R&B and music I grew up with in Miami, for sure. Absolutely.
I think part of what I love about this record also is how you are layering your vocals and kind of the way that you can make yourself sound like 6 different people and all and make it sound, again, organic and not like it's in a lab.
Thank you.
How long does that take to record a song like that? I feel like the first song had some of that layered in, especially towards the end. How long does it take to record vocals like that? And do you have to do like 20 different versions of yourself to get to that?
Yeah, so a track like Midheaven, which is the one of the songs on the dual single that we have out right now, Midheaven took me 8 hours, and I track all the vocals myself. So Kurt tracks us instrumentally, and then I come back to Nashville and sing the record on my own time and try a bunch of weird stuff that I might not want to do in front of other people. There's a lot of discovery in the vocal process for me, and I really enjoy that because I do think it brings out some stuff that, were you to have an audience, even an audience that you trust and respect and love working with, you would go for different things, different types of performances. So Midheaven took like 8 hours, but then there are songs like Imperfect, like I sang it 3 times and that's it, and then I just layered the BVs. So things that are high power for me are much easier. They're much more like where I naturally live vocally, whereas things like X and Melt, that sort of doubled or quadded vocal where I'm really trying to match myself and get a certain level of like low key energy, that's much more difficult for me to be that hemmed in. And I'm calling on the gods of like, you know, Patty from The Waitresses and Berlin, you know, those women who did all of that really sort of deadpan singing that I admire so much, but it's like much more work for me to get.
That's very cool. It's work when people are gonna go crazy, I think, for it, because the vocals are, and they're recorded so well, and you sound great on these songs.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Turbo, what else? What else you got?
You mentioned X. X was one of my favorite songs on the album, and I saw that y'all had released it because I was like, that would be a single. Should be a single, and I saw that y'all released it as a single, so that was cool.
Thank you.
So I hope it gets to grow. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because you mentioned somebody that you've talked about before, right? In this song?
Albini?
You said Steve, so yeah.
Yeah, that's Steve. Yeah, that's Albini. Okay. Yeah, so I wrote the song... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I wrote the song
didn't you have an early song called Steve?
Did we have an early song called Steve?
We had the album Bill.
We have an album called Bill that we made with Albini.
And we did the Steve Albini mixes of that. We released those.
Yes. When he died, we released his original analog mixes of that record. That might be what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So, yeah, Steve was a pal and a collaborator, and I wrote X maybe not even 6 weeks after he died, and I was just grieving nonstop. You know, his death was so bizarre and so sudden. And Steve was one of those figures that I think we all thought would just outlive all of us for some reason. You know, without even consciously thinking that, he was just kind of this like presence in music and in culture because of his outspoken views on capitalism and the music industry and just humanity. And when he died, it was just really unmooring. And I watched Gen X and myself and so many people grieve him in all of these different ways, and I wrote that song about that season of grief and observing grief. And in the second verse I say goodbye Steve and goodbye Faith, they died together in early May, which feels true. It feels like Steve's passing really marked like a moment in time, that there's like before Steve died and after Steve died. And by the way, it's been a terrible time, you know, look at where we are right now.
Yeah
So
Steve would hate it here right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like somebody mentioned the same thing about Bowie.
Yeah,
the
it
world
goes
without
badly.
Bowie is a whole lot worse.
Yeah, exactly. Neil Peart, terrible. You know, it's not going well. But yeah, it's very unusual for me to use somebody's proper name in a song, but it just came out naturally when I was writing those lyrics, and it lives there now, and it feels nice. I like memorializing my friends. There's a song on our album before this one called Fail that's about my friend Mark Orleans, who died by suicide in 2020. And every night that we play that song, because it was a single as well, so we're still playing it, every night that we play that song, right at the end I say for Mark Orleans, and it makes me feel so proud and happy that I get to say his name, you know, that his name is on stage in that room that night. So being able to say Steve's name every night for the next 2 years will feel good.
That's awesome. And just the work he did, and for people our age, like if you like any kind of music, you'll probably exposed to something he did and something that he recorded. Even one of my favorite bands was Guided by Voices, and for a while they had these Albini mixes that were not available, and then they came out, and you can just know when you know that sound that he created, and the what he was able to do just for music in general for people of a certain age. And you know, it's
incredible.
And that must have been awesome to be able to spend time and work with him, I assume.
Oh, he's the greatest. He was super cool to work with. And also his band Shellac, I think, was one of the greatest rock bands of all time. I mean, one of the most influential bands of my life, for sure. Go ahead, Jared. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, I do agree with you. I don't have a whole lot to add. It was just a perfect time. And to, you know, there's nothing like having his sounds with your work on an album you recorded. That's something I'm going to cherish forever.
Yeah, totally.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You guys have, I believe, kind of gone at it on your own when it comes to things like a label, right? And now working with Jad and Magnetic Eye and all the amazing bands he has in the labels that he works with. How did you wind up working with Jad, and what's the experience been like being on a label? I think Buick, I think you've been on labels before, right? For some of the other stuff you did, but for Friendship Commanders, this is a different experience, right?
Right. Go ahead, Jer.
Yeah, well, to piggyback on what you said, we've both of us have had previous projects separately that have been signed in various ways at various differing levels. So going into this, we were protective and skeptical of the whole thing and kind of wanted to keep it in-house for a long time. But, we're close pals with the Howling Giant dudes and have played with many other bands on Blues Funeral and Magnetic Eye. And we got wind that we'd been on their radar for a minute and just liked the community and fit with the community and liked how they did business. So we sent the record to Jad, and he liked it and, wanted to sign us. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, he offered to sign us on this record the first time he heard it, which was really encouraging.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, doing it yourself is freeing in a lot of ways, and at a certain point, it's extremely exhausting, and having help is awesome. The more you have to do, the less possible it is to keep it all straight, and just having a third voice in the room to present a different idea that's possibly better than yours or new and fresh, it's invaluable.
Yeah, and we're bad at having that help. Ask Jad. He'll laugh when he hears this. We're terrible at having it. We're so used to just being on our own. We're like, oh yeah, we have help.
Yeah, he has to tell us to not do things so they can do them, and
2 points I want to make. Number one, got to talk to the Howling Giant guys on the show. There were no one nicer in music that I've ever talked to. Yeah. Those are the nicest guys. So cool, so talented, and their new record is, I don't know if you've heard it yet, but their new record is...
I haven't heard the whole thing, but I just had coffee with Tom on Saturday. I can't wait to hear the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I told Zach his drumming on this one it's just outstanding. So Jerry, wait till you hear that.
Yeah.
And we talked with a band called Insomniac who were on Blues Funeral, and it was very similar. Band. Yeah. It was a very similar conversation where it was like, we played a show and we stepped off the stage and we talked to Jad and he signed us. I'm like, yeah, cool. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I don't want to go without Buick, number one, saying this is the first time we can say Grammy-winning artist that has come on our show. So we think. We haven't done the full research, but we think that's the case. But I do want to mention that you put out a solo record this year called Adult Child, right? A couple months ago. Yeah. Tell us about that, if you don't mind, for people who might be interested in some more of your work.
Yeah, so Adult Child is like an indie rock album. It came out June 13th. I wrote and produced the whole thing. There is some crossover. Jerry played on some of the tracks, not all of them. Kurt Ballou mixed it as he does with the Friendship Commander stuff, and Brad Boatwright mastered it. So there is some team sharing happening there. And it is a record about identity and being raised in a certain type of family and how that has shaped the way that I move through the world. Adult child is shorthand for a longer term that I have never said publicly, but if you Google the term adult child, an answer may reveal itself. I don't like to betray the privacy of anybody else, but it's just a certain set of stripes that I walk around with, and I thought it would be beneficial for me and possibly other people to have a set of recordings about what that means in my relationships, what that means in the way that I feel about myself and the way that I talk about myself. And it was a real treat to record it and put it into the world. And then we got signed like while I was releasing that record. So it has ended up being a very full year for me in that Adult Child came out June 13th and Bear is coming out October 10th. So I will be releasing music for something like 8 or 9 straight months in 2025.
Very cool.
Which is a lot, but it's fun.
Who are you obviously a different sound.
Yep.
Who are you channeling on that one? I listened to the record today. I didn't even know you had a solo record until I was doing some research, and I really enjoyed it. It's definitely that indie rock wheelhouse. Who would you compare to, or who would you channel if anyone was interested in that kind of stuff?
That's good. That's a good question. I mean, I feel like mentioning Juliana Hatfield isn't too far away for some of it. I'm a huge Sean Colvin fan. I'm a huge Ricky Lee Jones fan. The engineer who recorded the band performances, Jeff Buckley, about me. He was like, I feel like it's kind of like a Jeff Buckley thing. And I was like, that's interesting. I feel like women often get compared solely to other women in the music world. But I was like, that's not untrue because Jeff was a rock singer-songwriter and I am as well. But yeah, it's kind of a sonic collage. There's some of it that's very, very stripped down. There's one song that's entirely vocal, no outside instrumentation at all. And then other stuff that's full band. And yeah, I'm proud of it. It took me over a year to make that record out, working on it in bits and pieces between Friendship Commanders events and tours and whatever, but I'm really glad to have made it. And Kurt, I love the way Kurt mixed it because he really brought it into, I love the way he treats my voice in all of my projects. And that's why I took it to him. I was like, I would really love to have you make my voice do what it can do, but in a different backdrop,
Very cool. And that is available on Bandcamp, everyone. Bandcamp, everyone. Go check it out. And I just want to say that you are the kings and queens of the bundle on Bandcamp. you guys can just combine just about anything on with the records and with the shirts. It's wonderful work. It actually makes it easier because I just one button to press and you're good to go.
Thank you.
Jerry, you mentioned that you worked with and were in other bands that were signed, and what do we know some of your other work, and maybe we just have not heard.
You would not know any of my other work. Every band of mine got signed right before I ended up leaving and moving on, and I never ended up on any recording except for an old band of mine named Paper Rival, that was named Keating back in the day. We went all the way and got signed to Atlantic, and those are guys I played with back when I was 17. Bit of trivia: one of my bandmates in that band is in the video for Melt, and he's the guy who steals my cymbal and runs around with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was a guitar player and primary songwriter in that band, and he may make another appearance soon in a different video.
Other notable appearances in the Melt video include Tom from Howling Giant. He's jumping around behind me. Naveen from Entheos is in the video. He's the guy bunny hopping in the back of the screen at one point. Yeah. It's a whole crew.
Love it.
And Spencer Moore, another technical drummer from Tennessee, who you might know from Inferi, who is, gone on to Greener Pastures, all that stuff.
Very cool. Yeah, the video is a lot of fun. Turbo, you usually ask the questions about the videos, so I hope we didn't steal your thunder there. But
oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
that's
good.
Cool.
What other questions?
I'll ask a question about the album cover. How about that?
You go for it.
Choice about the album cover because I'm guessing what I've seen so far is what you're going with the kind of out of focus picture of you. Is that it, or is that somebody else?
Yeah, and it's me holding my hands like with my palms up, and Jerry's on the back cover with his hands down, facing down. He actually had that idea for their video stills. They're stills from video footage that we took. And my thing with the hands was that bear has many definitions, but to bear down and to carry are two of them. So our hands are positioned in such a way so as to, illustrate that physically. But yeah, Jerry wanted to put me on the front cover. I would never in my life put myself on the front cover of an album.
Yeah, this was such a the back end creative side of this, the post, the album sequence, the artwork. We put more work into it than we had in the past as far as conceptualizing is concerned. So it really lived up to its name, as Buick has said, Bear. But yeah, I grabbed an old Zeiss Jena, like a 1950s Soviet lens I had, put a bunch of filters and weird stuff on it, and just, went around with the camera in the backyard and saw what happened. We got those good stills out of it.
Love it. Yes, it's a great cover. I can't wait to see it on the actual vinyl when it arrives.
You and me both. Thank you.
Oh, you have not seen it yet on vinyl. Okay.
It's nearly here. It's on its way.
It's being shipped from Germany right now.
Look, October 10th, you've got some time yet. That still sounds like we might get close to the release date of it being in people's hands, so which is a lot better than you can say about a lot of records that are out there. I need to ask just about your songwriting, Buick, just because to me it sounds so personal. Like there's not one song that you're not like pulling from, at least to me, from some kind of experience in your life. How does the creative process work, as much as you want to exposed to us. But how does that creative process work for you when you're coming up with lyrics that are probably so deep in meaning to you and now exposing them to the world?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the question. The answer is that I don't really know what else to do. I don't really have anything in me at this time. That's just I hear music, and I was just saying to Tom from Howling Giant the other day, he was asking me the exact same question, and I said I hear music, and I'm very superstitious that if I turn that music down or reject it or judge it, that it will stop coming to me. So I always let it through. And even if I don't end up recording a song or don't end up loving it, I always let it through. And the work that sort of sings to me the loudest is the stuff that kind of is like from an emotional fever pitch place. So it's usually like I sort of am overcome by a set of like awarenesses and concepts, and music comes to me and I let it through. And there are a couple songs on the record that I barely remember writing. Keeping Score is one of them, where it just was like showed up fully formed. But then other songs like Melt, I had the music for Melt in various stages for a year before I even lived the stories that are contained within those lyrics. So structurally, I heard it. Melodically, I had a bunch of voice memos on my phone, and I knew it was called Melt. I knew that that was in the chorus, and I had melodic phrases worked out, but I didn't have like the story yet. And then when I lived them, I knew. I was like, oh, this is what this is about. This is about being kicked out of womanhood. This is about always being the weird one, always being told that I'm the weird one. And then I got to sort of like take those experiences and almost just like drop them into the box of the song, you know. But I believe in being honest in my work, I guess, because I don't know who it helps to be dishonest. And I also don't know how compelling that work is. While I think there is an argument to be made for very intellectual sort of academic writing, I access a different place. And the work that I love, the music that we just cited, like Chris Cornell, it sounded like it was coming right out of his bloodstream, those songs. You know, Lane Staley, Jerry Cantrell, I mean, these people were telling difficult stories about themselves, you know? I mean, Lane as much told you that he knew he was dying. He told you in Mad Season, he told you in Alice. I mean, Lane knew he was not long for this world. And I think there's value in being able to hear that in that work. I think that work lives as like a living testament of someone's real experience. And so I'm trying to do the same and just be honest where possible and hope that other people understand it, you know?
It's awesome. And Jerry, I have to ask you.
Cheers to the weird ones, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers to the weird ones is correct. That's what this whole show is about. Jerry, I have to ask, in the bio, it mentions that you played bass. Is there bass on this record? Like, are we hearing bass on this record?
Oh, yeah. You hear bass on all of our records. We track drums and guitar first. And then we'll get one track of guitar just to see what we need.
Scratch.
There's bass on everything we do. And we did start it as a trio. And I think actually becoming a duo live is a big part of why we ended up being as heavy and as loud as we are, because we had to up our energy and our tones. But, just to like contribute to the wall and give it the low end that it needs to sound like a massive wall, we do, we had bass after the fact.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was just all Buick's guitars or you had bass in there too.
And we treat it like it's like we each play two instruments. She sings and plays guitar, and I play drums and bass.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll say though, people that have seen us live, we've been accused of playing to tracks because the low end is not missing from my guitar sound live. And so people are like, you're playing to tracks. I'm like, we don't even know how to do that. So we're definitely not doing that, because that would involve other equipment that is not here, So it rounds itself out on stage. And I do think being just as loud as humanly possible also accommodates some of that. But yeah, there's bass on the records for sure.
Now, that's what I was going to ask, just because you play as a duo. So I wasn't sure if you were, it was just that, drum and guitar or, mentioning bass there. But seeing you live, or I haven't seen you guys, but I've watched some videos of it, and, the heavy is still there without the bass. So I had to ask sonically. It's not a Jason Newsted turn down the bass as low as possible on Injustice for All situation. No. It's definitely there to help the heavy along with it. Speaking of live, what are you guys doing from a tour standpoint? Are you going out on the road, or out, what's the plan for the new record?
Yeah, we're actually going to be out opening weekend on. We've got two weekend shows coming up. It's 19th and 20th this week in Pittsburgh and Youngstown. Then we're doing a couple in Oklahoma and Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Kansas City on the release weekend of the record. Then we're doing like a week and a half out, including a Nashville show on the 24th of October, and then like 3 weeks in November.
I've done none of this math, but you sound good saying that. I don't
Something
know
like that.
about.
So we're touring a whole bunch. We're hitting the Northeast. We're getting out west, and we can't announce it yet, but we will be in your neck of the woods, Rich, in February, March.
Yeah.
So
we're out on this first run until almost Thanksgiving now. Like, you know, I'm in pockets. So yeah, we're out for the fall once the record comes out.
Now that's quite the teaser, because not a lot of bands come through here. So I'm going to try to, once I hit stop on this recording, try to get it out of you guys.
Well, and this will be the first time we've gotten past Central Florida, right? Have we even gotten to Central Florida?
Dude, I have never played in Miami, and I am from Miami. Like, it has to happen in 2026. It's insane.
All right. Well, we'll talk more after. No, that'll be awesome. I would love to be able to get a chance to see you guys. What else, anything else you want to share about the new record that's coming? And Jerry, we'll start with you. Anything you just want to tell listeners about Bear? What it means to you, or what people should expect, or anything that you want to say about it?
Well, I find a lot of meaning in what Buick is saying on this record, and relate to it as someone who is myself a sort of perpetual outsider. Turbo, if you are from here, I'm not sure if you're from here, you might have the same experience as I did. I got kicked out of Franklin Road Academy in pre-kindergarten for not being Christian, so that kind of set the tone of my life. It's always been that. So in a record about belonging, I've not really found a whole lot of it, and I work in the music business here, and I feel like everybody thinks I'm sort of an alien for also having my own project instead of just signing on for the business machinations, or just working with bigger artists or whatever. And so I can't live any other way. This is what I like to do, and I really just kind of permanently always relate to what Buick's saying. On a musical level, we're pretty dogmatic and almost activists about the recording process, in that it's like always full takes, no editing, no click track, no drum samples, no tuning,
no AI.
Yeah, we just use the computer as a tape machine, and that's the way we've always done it. I think we've used a click track twice in our career, and it's one time on this record, because in the full transparency, is it just the very beginning of Dead and Discarded Girls. Once it gets heavy, it's gone.
Yeah, I think that's right. We were just counting in the beginning.
Yeah, and that was merely because we had to record the heavy part first, and we had to find the tempo that it started at and stay there and match it. But yeah, I'm very proud of that, and kind of, especially now, I feel like music is going to live and die by that. Like real amps, no amp sims, real drums. And I am increasingly more proud of how the records turn out, considering they were made that way.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's great, Jerry. How about you, Buick? What would you say?
This record's about being a weirdo, and while there is a lot of music about not belonging on it, which I think is fine to express, there's also some music about belonging to outsider culture itself, and to counterculture, and to the art itself. And so I guess my message that I hope people take away is there are always others. You are never the only one. Go find the others, and I think that that's an important thing to hear. I think it's a lonely time to be a human being. I think it's getting lonelier. And try not to succumb to it. Just go find the others, and you are always welcome with us.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So we've kept you longer than we promised, but what I want to say is Friendship Commanders have a new record coming out on October 10th. It's called Bear. It's on Magnetic Eye Records. It's awesome. You'll love it for all the reasons why we've talked about this stuff. Go see them live, and go pre-order a bundle, because there's lots of bundles to pre-order. You can get any combination of any Friendship Commander stuff on their Bandcamp page. Whatever you want to do, bundle it up. But the new record is amazing. Thank you very much for your time, and congratulations. I can't wait for everybody to hear this, because I think they're going to be blown away.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here. We really appreciate the platform and the conversation.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Thank you so much, Buick. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.